Jesus also promised. Look at Matthew 24, and I want you to see, this is the second passage of Jesus' promise, and we'll get back to Ezekiel, but I want you to see Christ's orientation, and it really helps to see Ezekiel in light of this. The bottom line is, Jesus promised the rebirth of a nation called Israel. Now, of course, he promised it because he's the one that inspired the Old Testament. Peter says that all the Old Testament prophets, including Ezekiel and Jeremiah, spoke by the Spirit of Christ that was in them. So literally, you can say that the Spirit of Christ was speaking in the Old Testament. That's what the Bible says. But look what Jesus says in the New Testament. The bottom line is, Jesus told us that when he returns, there will already have been a return of the wandering Jews back to their homeland. Jesus said that in Matthew 24. That jumps out clearly when you notice the orientation of Christ's words in verses 15 and 16. And this is what Jesus said. He says, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, we've already looked at that. That's in chapter 9. It's not just in chapter 9, it's also in 11 and other spots, but clearly in 9. And Jesus said, you're going to know it's the end when the Jews are living back in their homeland, when they have built a temple. Now that's what gets interesting about this. How on earth, with tens of thousands of missiles pointed at Israel from every Muslim nation, how are they going to lift a finger up on the Dome of the Rock area? Something has to happen to offset the kind of trigger that's set right now. Well, Jesus says this. Standing in the holy place, that's the Hitron, the temple, the place that was very clear. I mean, everybody that read this in the first century knew he was talking about the temple in Jerusalem. Whoever reads, let him understand. Verse 16, then let those who are in Judea flee the mountains. You know what the Lord said? He says, yes, the Romans are going to come, they're going to butcher everybody, they're going to put a trench around, they're going to siege, and they're going to destroy Jerusalem. But in the future, they're going to come back. They're going to live there. They're going to build their temple. They're going to inhabit biblical Judea. And he says that's going to be the sign of and you know we've already covered this, of the Antichrist. Okay, back to Ezekiel 36, or we'll never get done. And I know you want to go home because it's Labor Day and you want to celebrate. Ezekiel 36:36. Promise number 2. Number 1 is they would return to their homeland. Number 2, God says they would rebuild. They wouldn't just come back. They would rebuild the ancient ruins. And it says this, then the nations which are left all around you shall know that I am the Lord, have rebuilt the ruined places and planted what was desolate. And what I think is amazing is, do you think that the settlers, the early settlers who named their cities after the biblical sites that they were building on, were doing that because it said they were supposed to in Ezekiel? Do you think that the people that came to all of the cities like Bet-El, which is Beth-El, or Caesarea, which is Caesarea, or any of the other little towns that have been Shiloah, which is Shiloh, do you think that they said, Ezekiel 36 says we got to rebuild the ruined places? These are in obscure places. And they search for them till they find where Shiloh was, where Bethel was. And they find where it was in the Bible times, and they plant what you hear on the news, a settlement there. Why are they doing that? Because God says they are doing it because, look at the end of verse 36, I, the Lord, have spoken it, and I will do it. Why is the whole world so upset that Israel is building these little towns in the land that is theirs, that they conquered in battle? I mean, do you think that we're going to give back, what we paid all those 50,000 lives for in Korea, that is now South Korea? We're going to give it back to China or Korea? I mean, it's fair and square. They won it. We're defending it. But Israel won it. Nobody wants to defend it. Take it away from them. Don't build your cities. Why is everyone bothered by that? Because God says, I'm the one that's behind this settlement building stuff. I'm the one that wants the towns from the Bible rebuilt. But it doesn't stop there. It's very interesting. Third promise, God said, the reblossoming of desolate desert lands to produce abundant food. In chapter 36, look at verses 8 and 9. But you, O mountains of Israel, you shall shoot forth your branches. You will yield your fruit to my people Israel. for they are about to come. For indeed I am for you. God said, I'm for you, Israel, even though all the other nations in the world aren't. I'm for you. I will turn you. You will be tilled and sown. And verse 30 continues, I will multiply the fruit of your trees. Now, Israel today supplies billions of dollars of fresh fruit and flowers to Europe and the Arab world. They have to remark the boxes because none of the Arabs will buy it from Israel. But if they put some other word on there, they'll buy their apples. Isn't that funny? And what is amazing is the land of Israel side by side, where the Jewish farmers are farming, it looks like Florida's old citrus groves before they all died from whatever bug got them. And it looks like California used to look before they knocked all the trees down and built houses over it. That's what Israel looks like today. And you know what's interesting? You can have a Muslim farmer and you can have a Jewish farmer, and the Jewish farmer with his drip irrigation in the middle of the desert, it looks just like the Garden of Eden, and the poor Muslim farmer's farm looks just like it used to look, just like nothing. But then the Muslim farmer comes to the Jewish farmer and says, could you show me how to do that? And can you believe it? They go, yeah, I'll sell it to you. And they sell them, and all of a sudden the Muslim farm, using the Jewish technology, begins to just beautifully produce billions of dollars of fruit. Did those agricultural engineers, those irrigation pioneers, those desert scientists devote their lives to Israel, turning it from a wasteland condition to make it Ezekiel 36, 8, 9, 30? Do you think that all those drip technology engineers did it because they said, verse 9, you will be tilled. Verse 30, I'm going to increase the fruit of your trees. That's why I'm doing it. No. It's because God promised, and he causes it